All right, guys, so here we go with our test flight, or the maiden flight of the ZOHD Drift. So I have a couple of batteries installed in here, and they are the China Hobby Line 450 milliamp 2S battery. So I got those parallel connected, so now it is 900 milliamp, and that's about the milliamp hour that they recommend here. I don't have a 2S battery that is that size, and I've got these 2S batteries from China Hobby Line. 2S batteries, 450 milliamp. They are about $3 for $11. I believe I paid $10.99 for 3 of them. It was on sale. I don't know if they are still honoring the same price. So I use these for my Tiny Hawk 2 Freestyle and my Happy Model Crux. They are perfect size for that. But if you put them together, you can have a 2S battery that is 900 milliamp, or you can serial connect them and you can have a 4S battery that is 450 milliamp. Remember, those 450 milliamp 4S batteries are just ridiculously expensive. And I'm going to be using my TX16S with a 5 dB antenna. I did a excuse me, I did a little antenna mod on here on the project box. All it is a pigtail connected towards inside of the transmitter, and remove the IPX connector for the original antenna, and I plugged in the pigtail antenna and routed it and put the SMA connector on the project box so I can put another antenna. This is a little bit better antenna, a 5 dB antenna, so it should give me a little bit more range. So that is just about it. And oh yeah, underneath of the battery I put a little sticky tack thing. These are like for posters. You hang posters with these, and it's removable. Very sticky stuff. I'm going to put a camera on here later, so I got a little bunch right there. So put the sticky thing underneath of the battery and just kind of press it down, and so the battery doesn't slide back and forth. And right underneath of the wing, there's a little notch right next to the servo. That will be the center of gravity. So, you know, balance your airplane accordingly so you have a slightly heavier nose than the rear. So that is all set and ready to go. So let's go for our maiden flight with the ZOHD Drift. Woohoo! There we go. I started off in stabilized mode, and here it comes. Woohoo! Okay, I think the gain is a little bit on the high side. I have it set to about 3 o'clock, both the elevator and the aileron, and the controls are really sensitive. So I think you could probably set it to maybe like 9:30, 10 o'clock, or 2 o'clock, 2:30, if it's on the right side of the 12 o'clock position. Oh yeah. Yeah, it wobbles a little bit, I can see that. So on my next flight, maybe I'm gonna lower it down so I can control it with a little bit more stick input instead of just a very slight stick input here. Yeah, stabilized mode. So you don't have to worry about maintaining horizon and all that stuff. And the aileron is doing a pretty good job of turning, and that's almost the full aileron there. Well, it's not that bad. Oh yeah, it's pretty nice now. I'm getting the hang of it. As you can see, it kind of wobbles a little bit. Oh yeah. So I have the return home set to the geofencing, and it is set to that little knob on the adjustment board. It is set to right about 2 o'clock. So I don't know how far of a distance that is. You have to test it and see how far it goes, but I'm just doing a line of sight here, so I don't think I'm going to be going the distance. So we'll hook up the FPV camera and do a little FPV too. And when we do that, I think I'm going to go ahead and set it to the return to home. So you can either flick that switch, or if you do get out of control distance, then it will return by itself. And as far as I know from reading the manual, it will return and it will circle automatically in a radius of 100 meters and 35 meters in height. So it'll be a little higher than this and a little further away than this. It'll circle around, maybe like right about there. That's about 100 meters. So it will circle around the takeoff spot. So you can go ahead and choose what you want to do. You can bring it in, and you have lots of time to bring it in. So I'm not sure what the flight time is on this, because I'm just doing a line of sight. And look at that. This is my maiden flight, and I'm getting the hang of it. Yeah. Yeah, it does wobble a little bit, so I'm going to decrease my elevator and aileron gains. Or maybe that's just the way it is. I'm not sure, but I do have a lot of stick input here. If I full stick input, that is the full stick input. Not bad, huh? Yeah, so these batteries are great, and if you are doing FPV, it does show the voltage of the input voltage on the all-in-one VTX, and that input voltage will reflect the battery voltage. So you have to bring it in when the battery gets low as well. So that is really nice. So you know what the battery voltage is, because it is the same battery that you are using to power up the VTX. And also you have the return home feature. So this airplane is a very safe airplane. It has everything you want. Stabilize mode, you got acro mode. I mean, if you are a experienced flyer, you know, go and fly this thing in acro mode. But, you know, I have the hardest time flying these kind of planes in acro mode. So unless I'm doing FPV, then I can do it. But line of sight, I find it really, really difficult. So if you are a beginner plane flyer like me, then, you know, put it in the angle mode. And it's very simple. It's a flick of a switch. So you can flick it to angle mode whenever you run into trouble trying to fly manual mode. So that is just awesome. So this airplane has everything you need. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and bring it in. Hopefully I can land it where there's no brush. Okay, so turn around here. Glide it down. Oh, I killed the throttle. And it's just gliding. Oh, little bit of throttle. But at one point I did kill the throttle. So let me just check on that. Get some height. And then let's kill the throttle. Yep, the throttle is all the way down. And it's just gliding now. No throttle whatsoever. Going against the wind. Or the little breeze that we have. Look at that, just gliding. So if you know how to fly airplanes and use the thermals and all that, you can probably fly this thing for like forever. Especially with the ZOHD Lion Pack 2S 18650 batteries. Oh yeah, you can probably fly this thing for hours. So I'm thinking this thing has rudder control, so I'm still inputting my rudder control on my sticks, but it does not. Okay, so I'm still making like it does. See, I just glided right there without any throttle input. So a perfect day to fly this thing too, because there's no breeze. So look at that. Woohoo! Okay, let's see if I can bring it in here. Over there, there's a little bit of grass. right there. Nice. All right, our maiden flight of the ZOHD Drift. All right, guys, so here we go with our first FPV flight, and this time I'm launching it in the return to home mode with the 3-position switch all the way to the top. So in this mode, you place the throttle to about 70 to 80%, but nothing happens except the tail flap goes up. So just throw the RC plane, and once the RC plane reaches 4 meters per second in speed or more, the motor will arm and it will climb to 35 meters autonomously and circle in a radius of 100 meters, just as if it is in the return to home mode. It is a perfect way to launch an airplane. So I did adjust the elevator and the aileron gain to about 10 o'clock position, but as you can see, it still has a lot of wobble. So it will need further adjustment on the next flight. So maybe about the 11 o'clock position or so should do the trick. Now, the first thing I want to point out is the OSD on the bottom of the screen. So you got the band, the channel, and the frequency, which is 5745. Next is the milliwatt setting, set at 200. It goes up to 400, by the way. And you have the battery voltage and the on time. So the battery voltage reflects the input voltage to the VTX, and the input voltage is the main battery. So you can monitor your main battery voltage as well, just from the OSD, which is nice. So you can bring it in before the battery runs dry. And again, you can see that the aileron gain definitely needs to be set a little bit lower. But it is still a pleasant flight experience. It is easy to fly since it is in the stabilized mode. And so far at the 200 milliwatt setting on the VTX, we are getting very clear video as well. So I'm gaining a little bit of more confidence, and I can slowly start coming down in altitude and flying a little bit closer to the ground. And because it is in the stabilized mode, you have nothing else to worry about. Just roll to the left here and straighten it out. And as long as you keep that throttle and pull up when you go down too low, you are perfectly good here. So beautiful day here in paradise. Very minimum amount of winds as well. Okay, so I just flicked it into the manual mode. As you can see, I'm going all over the place. Now, it is not recommended, but it still does do rolls. And here, I'm getting ready to do a power loop. So we're going to see if it can also do a power loop. A little wobbly power loop, but it still does a power loop as well. So not a bad RC plane. You can still do tricks. Another roll here to the right. And another roll here to the left. So at any time during flying it in the manual mode, all it requires is a flick of the 3-position switch to revert back to the stabilized mode. So it is a perfect RC plane for beginners. I'm just cruising in the altitude here, checking out the scenery. There I am way down there. And so with this hobby-made D16 receiver, it is doing very well. You got the distance as well, but on our next flight, we are going to find out if it does truly have return to home. So I'm going to flick the switch to the top position while flying further away from myself and then see if it turns back autonomously. And then we'll take it for a little range test and see if the return home kicks in by itself. So if it does, this has to be one of the best beginner RC planes. So here I'm wobbling and coming down in altitude. And one of the most difficult thing for me is landing an RC plane. It is completely different from landing a quadcopter, where you can bring the quadcopter in close to yourself, kind of hover a little bit, and then plop it down. While RC plane, you have to kind of gradually come down. You can't just stall and stop. So that's been the most difficult part for me on an RC airplane. So coming down over here, very wobbly, and I'm gonna come across the grain of the road and almost just landed straight nose first, but did make the landing. All right, guys, so here we go. I got the switch to the top position, which is the return to home position. So when I throw it and it reaches 4 meters per second or faster, the motors will arm and it will glide up to 35 meters in height and circle around in a 100-meter radius. So I'm gonna give it throttle. Nothing's happening. So tossing it, and there you go. Autonomously goes up, and it should circle in a radius, and there you go. This is all autonomous. I'm not touching the remote control at all. So this is just awesome. So there you go. I'm gonna take control now. I'm gonna flick it over to angle mode and cruise right here. Oh yeah, now it's responding very smoothly. There's no jerky motion or anything like that. So first things first, I want to check out the return to home, and I have the drift set to the return to home position and not the geofence position. So let me go ahead and flick that switch and see what happens. There you go, autonomous return to home with the flick of a switch. Yep, fail-safe return to home on a switch. And it's gonna come back to about 100 meters in radius, and it's gonna start circling around where it took off from. So let's see if it circles around. And there you go, it's starting to do that circle around. So very nice, perfect for a beginner, as well as seasoned pilots as well. So I'm gonna retake control now in angle mode. And next thing I want to test out is, does it actually have fail-safe return to home when the receiver goes into fail-safe? So let's go and check it out. This is a D16 receiver. It also has telemetry. So let's go on and make our way towards the homes over there and see how it works. I got the original antenna that came with the TX16S installed in here also. Took off that 5 dBi antenna.
RSSI critical.
Ooh, yeah, there you go. Now we're talking. Critical RSSI. Hey, the D16 receiver does have pretty decent range. All right, let's go
RSSI low.
this way where I normally fail safe. And there you go. Look at that. Autonomous return to home.
RSSI critical.
Okay, I regained control of it. But for a moment, it just took off by itself. So that's the fail-safe return to home. Look at that. This is close to 1,000 meters. Wow. Okay, I'm losing video on my head plate goggles. I'm not sure about the fat sharks.
RSSI critical.
Okay, come on. Return to home, kick in, fail safe.
RSSI critical.
Woohoo!
RSSI critical.
Okay, right now it's heading back. You see that? There you go. Fail safe kicked in, and it's heading back. Let me see. I have no control.
Lost.
So it's heading back by itself autonomously. So that is just awesome. So failsafe return to home works on this thing too.
Critical. Telemetry recovered.
Oh, it recovered. Yeah, now I have regained control. Very nice.
RSSI low.
Very, very nice. So you can cruise all you want, and the failsafe return home will kick in once you disconnect.
RSSI critical.
Okay, did it go back? Yep. Now I got control back. So intermittently it goes in and out. Nice. So you never have to worry about the airplane falling from the sky because you got disconnected. And because you can see the battery voltage on the OSD, you know what the battery level is, so you can go ahead and bring it in time before the battery runs dry. So this is an awesome RC plane. And that ZOHD co-pilot light flight controller is just awesome. You want to put this on all of your RC planes. Very light, got GPS. Yeah, very nice. I'm just gonna go and cruise out the remaining on the battery over here. What a beautiful day it is, isn't it? And I'll probably take it to the park and do a little bit of flying over there and stick on the Insta 360 Go and see how that works out. That Insta 360 Go is an awesome little camera. You can stick it on anywhere. And especially with that poster hanging tacky stick-on thing that I got, that thing is just awesome. You can stick the small cameras on any surface and form it to the surface and angle your camera to your liking. Just awesome. All right, guys, so I'm gonna go ahead and bring it in for a landing, and that'll wrap it up for this video of the ZOHD Drift RC plane test flight video. If you haven't seen the assembly and setup video, I'll link it right up on the top corner and also on the video description down below. So thank you so much for tuning in and watching. Have a great day, and we'll see you again next time.